Welcome to Coach's Corner on Beaver County Radio. Tonight's show will also be live streamed on our Facebook page at WBVP-WMBA. Coach's Corner is brought to you by Junction Auto Service, McGee Heating and Air Conditioning, Geneva College, Fishers New Brighton Foodland and Beaver Falls Save-A-Lot, the Community College of Beaver County, the J&J Spratt Funeral Home, and the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority. Now let's take it to our host for tonight's edition of Coach's Corner on Beaver County Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Coach's Corner here on Beaver County Radio. I'm Mike Azadian, my co-host to my far right, again, Mr. John Parada. And today we talk Freedom football, Freedom athletics. We are with Freedom head coach and athletic director John Rosa. John and John, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk Freedom. John, I believe this is your second full year as head coach or third?
Well, it's basically the third. The first one was
half and half
in the middle of the
right,
year.
Like you came
at the
on
beginning of the year, but there was
right.
already a game played.
So things are starting. You're mainly with a lot of the kids you've seen growing up in the program. You've been with the program a long time. Talk about your kids. Talk about your program and where you're at, and how you feel about your team.
Well, we have some good senior leaders. Not a lot of seniors, but we do have some good leaders in that senior group. And our junior and sophomore classes, we're getting a lot out of them. So we feel the future is pretty bright, but they're buying into our system, and they're all playing together as a team, and that's what's important. But we feel that we can make some noise in the MAC conference with the players that we have. We're going to run the football, and we're going to throw it when we have to. So we've been playing really good defense. So
we'll talk a little bit more about the MAC conference, and we'll talk about some of your games and your game coming up this week. I got WNBA, we got a chance to do the Ambridge game, second week of the season, or was it week one? I can't remember what it was because there's week 0, week 1. And it was a hard-fought game. Could have went either way. You guys came up on the short end, but I felt you guys ran the ball pretty well. A few mistakes here and there, but it seemed like you guys had the running game going for the most part against that team.
Yeah, we made some mistakes early in that game. We had a penalty on a kickoff return that went for a touchdown that probably could have changed the outcome of that game. But that's part of the game, and you have to deal with the penalties. But in the second half, we really got things together and started moving the ball. We just ran out of time.
Well, talk to us about you got a first-year quarterback this year. He's been on the team for a few years. But when you're breaking in a new quarterback, is it easier to do that or easier bringing in new linemen and new running backs? Which position is the hardest to be brand new starting?
Well, I think quarterback's a tough one, especially if you're asking them to do a lot of things. The nice thing about our offense is, we're run first. I mean, we want to run the football. We have some good quarterbacks. I mean, Ty Schulteis is our starter. And he's run the offense well. He's distributing the ball. He has had some really big games throwing the ball. He threw for 235 yards against Beaver. I think he had a couple other 100-yard games. So he is throwing the ball effectively when we have to. But I attribute that right now to we're running the football, and when we decide to throw the ball, we're catching teams off guard. And we have guys open, and to Ty's credit, he's getting the guys the football.
John, your non-conference schedule, you played Beaver, you played Ambridge, 2 schools in higher classification, bigger rosters, bigger enrollment. How much did you think you gained from playing teams like that in the non-conference portion that are a little bit bigger than you guys?
Yeah, I think it definitely prepared us. We played Quaker Valley first. They're a 3A school, although they've struggled the last couple of years. But, they have some talented kids there. And, we did some good things, came out of the gate and got a W. And then we fell a little bit short against Ambridge. Again, they had more guys than we did, some bigger guys. So, but we felt we competed, and that's one thing that we wanted to do. We were a little disappointed with our first quarter at Beaver, but after we settled down a little bit, we fell down 21-0 in that game. We battled back to 28-18 final. We felt that our kids played a really good second half, and we got after it defensively, and that's what we try to do. But you can't put yourself in a hole. But for the most part, I think that those 3 games prepared us for the upcoming MAC conference. And, you look at like last week's, most athletic directors, we get to pick that first game.
Yeah.
We don't really get to pick the second and the third game. So this isn't a knock on anybody, but the couple teams that we're now opening up with, Elwood City and Riverside, they played more single and double A schools. So hopefully that's helping us playing the bigger schools, but we'll find out Friday night.
John, you got off to a great start in the conference play last week, won 28-0 over Elwood. You had 400 total yards, really held Elwood, pitched a shutout. You had two backs go for 130 yards each. I know there's never a perfect game, but you had to be pretty darn happy with the way that one turned out.
It wasn't perfect. There was a lot of things that we needed to clean up in that game. We shot ourselves in the foot with some pre-snap penalties. And some mistakes on the offensive line. But we played really solid defensively. I was real happy with the way our guys played defensively because we held them to under 100 yards total offense. And they had a punt where they had a bad snap and they got 34 yards on that punt. Like we were in a wall, everybody went. So in theory, they really had about between 60 and 70 yards. So I was pretty happy with the way our defense played.
You know, Coach, let's talk about the section a little bit. A lot of people, when they look at the section, the first thing they think of is Beaver Falls and Neshannock. Arguably two really good teams. After that, depending on who beats who, you know, Riverside, yourself, Western Beaver, and then Elwood, Mohawk, and New Brighton. Realistically, if you win the games you're supposed to win, maybe upset a team, perceived upset, you can make the playoffs. But that being said, this stretch, Riverside, Western Beaver, these two, I don't want to say must-win games, but they're games that if you want to make the playoffs, you gotta win these games.
Well, the MAC conference, you got to come to play every night. You know, last year we were a sixth-place team out of our conference. We had a tough loss against New Brighton that could have put us in the playoffs. New Brighton was a fifth-place team last year. They went and beat, I think, either the number 2 or 3 seed in Washington, who was the number 1 team out of our conference. So the MAC always has good teams, and you know, we know what's ahead of us, but right now we're only looking at Riverside.
Coming off playing Ambridge, playing Beaver, you know you've got Neshannock and Beaver Falls coming up. How do you get the kids not to overlook a Riverside, not to overlook a Western Beaver? Because, you know, sometimes kids will think, hey, I'm better than that team. That team doesn't score a lot of points. But in reality, those teams are going to come to play. They're tough physical teams. How do you get the kids to not overlook opponents?
Well, you know, we take everybody seriously. You know, sometimes our kids, they look at records and things like that, but I look at what the kids are doing on the field. And Riverside's got some really good kids. Their lines improved from last year. They had some seniors last year, but I'm really impressed with the way they're playing up front. They got a veteran quarterback who's savvy. The kid could throw the ball in Hughes, and their running backs, he's a good kid. You know, he's a sophomore. He ran for 100 yards in a game against us last year. The kid runs hard, Janice, and you know, we got a tough challenge to stop him.
Do you think in this Riverside game, the way I look at it, they've got a good defense, you guys have a good defense. It's going to come down to who can stop who's running game, maybe a turnover, something like that? Because to me, this seems like a low-scoring defensive game written all over it.
Yeah, you know, we played Riverside a couple years ago, and it was nothing in the fourth quarter. So it's always a battle when these two teams get together, and it typically is a defensive game. I think last year it was like 34-7, but they had a lot of young kids playing on the offensive side of the ball in the skill positions. They're a little bit different this year. They got some receivers that can catch the ball. And like I said, Hughes, he can throw the ball, and he can throw the ball deep. So our defensive backs are going to be challenged this week, and so are our front seven with the way that Janice runs the football.
John, you have, we were talking off the air, you have a young team. You have some seniors, some good senior leadership, but a lot of your kids are underclassmen or juniors. And I was wondering, when you start off and you're 2-2, you've won a couple games, you had some success and really had, you know, opened the conference for win. How much confidence do you think that breeds, especially in the younger guys who are getting their first taste?
You know, we came out of the gate with the win, and then we played Ambridge really competitively. Yeah. Now, I was a little bit concerned in the first quarter of Beaver when we fell behind, but we made that a competitive football game. Like, you know, we had a chance there in the fourth quarter to get within one score. So, you know, as long as you're playing well, I think the kids are going to have the confidence. You know, we haven't been in blowout games on either side. Like, we're not, like, you could call last week at 28-0, but I don't really consider that a blowout. I mean, it was 13-0 at halftime. So, you know, you're playing a meaningful game for 4 quarters, and that's going to give the kids the confidence they need. But yeah, our seniors, you know, they have really stepped up and led by example. They're not yellers and screamers at the younger kids. they help the younger kids, and that helps us a lot.
John, how much does it mean to you as the athletic director, stepping in as coach? Freedom's been up and down over the years, but now more competitive last year. Probably had some games you could have won. This year, probably a couple of plays away from being 3-1, maybe even 4-0. You're competitive. You've got a strong running game. How much does it mean to you as a coach to have this team being competitive again and challenging not only for a playoff spot, but being a team that nobody wants to play against because how tough you are?
Well, we just want to instill the pride back in our community and our school. We had a really good run there in the late teens. The 17 team, the 18 team, the 19 team. And then the COVID year, we had a good team that year. I mean, I think we finished 5-3 the COVID year, and we were I think we were third or fourth place in our conference, but they only took 2. So we did miss the playoffs, and we missed the playoffs last year, which was disappointing. But we played competitively last year. So we want to just continue to grow as a team and keep getting better. And I think we're doing that week in and week out.
Let's switch gears a little bit. As an athletic director, one thing I'm sure some people in Beaver County know, Aliquippa, they're redoing their stadium, and they're playing no home games this year. They're going to play 3 home games at your facility. Talk about that a little bit and how it got to they are going to play at your facility. And I know that's a lot of work for all your people, but how did that work?
Well, Dr. Woods, their superintendent, and their coach, Mike Warfield, reached out to me and asked about the possibilities. And, that it wasn't just a sign on the dotted line. I mean,
Right.
There was some negotiation that went back and forth with things that they wanted and things that we wanted to require. But when it all came to fruition, we made it happen, and we're happy that they're able to play there. Their kids deserve at least some semblance of a home stadium, even though it's a couple miles down the road for them. But it's important for their community because of homecoming, because of senior night, and those kind of things. And we're excited. Aliquippa has always been there for us. When we had Johnny Chalice was suffering cancer,
I remember.
That was a community that really stepped up. And I wasn't the AD, but I was coaching at the time, and I remember that. So it's time to give back a little bit, and we're trying to do that.
John, I know you've been at Freedom a long time now, and you were the head coach, then you stepped back, and now you're back in the head coaching role here for a few years. How different is the game, and how different is it being a head coach between then and now?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, I'm coaching the same way I did back in the 90s. I learned under Al Guandolo and Mark Lyons and Sammy Nardone. They kind of mentored me through my first few years as a coach, and I try to model at least how we approach a game and make a game plan the same way that those guys do. And I still, Mark and I still talk a lot about different things and different ideas that we want to do. But, it's a little bit different just because of social media and things like that. You just got to be careful of everything that happens around you and just try to be positive. But we approach the game we're probably in our conference. I'm probably an old school coach, like the way I approach it. I know guys are running different types of offenses and stuff, but we're back to a power offense with a wing tee look. So it's we want to run the football and play good defense. And in this conference, you better be able to play good defense, because if you don't, you're going to be out of some games in a hurry with the teams that we have in our conference.
We're here on the Coach's Corner with John Rosa from Freedom, the Freedom Bulldogs, the spotlight of the Coach's Corner tonight. We want to thank Pizza Joe's.
Pizza Joe's.
We want to thank Pizza Joe's for
Better
for
thank
Beaver.
them twice. We just messed it up.
Exactly. Got to thank Pizza Joe's twice. All the young men in there from Freedom. They brought their captains. We're going to talk to a couple of their players next here on the Coach's Corner on Beaver County Radio, WBVP, and WNBA. We'll be right back.
There's no place like Community College of Beaver County.
Confidence happens here.
Connection happens here. Opportunity happens here. Your best you happens here. Your future happens here. Home is here. At CCBC, you're right where you need to be to find real learning for real life. And there's still time to join us. Enroll now through October 14th for fall mini-mesters. Same classes, less time. Visit ccbc.edu/fall. You belong here.
Are you in high school and thinking about your future, or know someone who is?
consider Geneva College. Geneva is a Christian college that prepares students for meaningful service and their life's work. Geneva has over 145 majors and programs, 18 varsity sports, 100 study abroad programs, and lots of club activities. And Beaver County scholarships help to make a Geneva education affordable. Learn more by visiting geneva.edu. That's geneva.edu.
Did you know Fisher's New Brighton Foodland is as close as a click? That's right. If you're watching or listening to this broadcast online, open up a new window and click GroceryStoreNewBrighton.com and start shopping right now. Fill your grocery order from New Brighton Foodland and follow Beaver County High School football all at the same time. What could be better? Fill your shopping cart up without ever leaving the sidelines. Visit GroceryStoreNewBrighton.com.
No matter what the circumstances, no matter the reason, one of the few things that is left when a loved one passes on are the memories. Staging those memories in an honoring way is one of the reasons so many people have chosen J&J Spratt Funeral Home. A person's legacy depends on a lifetime of accomplishments and then how they are remembered. J&J Spratt Funeral Home has helped start the process of creating positive legacies for over 70 years. Visit jjsprattfh.com. Joseph M. Spratt, Supervisor and Funeral Director.
Carver Construction in New Brighton is proud of all of our local football teams. They know what it takes to be a winner. It takes dedication, talent, and desire to do your best. All the things Carver Construction offers its customers. They've been doing it since 1982 for both residential and commercial renovations. Carver Construction, 1090 3rd Avenue in New Brighton. Building dreams one home at a time. Call 724-847-1572 or visit their website, carverconstructionpa.com. Get your furnace tuned up and fall into savings. Just call Keller Heating and Cooling now through the end of November and get $250 off a new system. A new Daikin system features up to a 12-year warranty. Keller Heating and Cooling is locally founded, Beaver County based, and family owned, serving Beaver County and surrounding areas. Keller firmly believes in supporting small businesses which help the community they call home. Whatever your HVAC needs, call Keller Heating and Cooling, 412-628-2207.
We're back on Coach's Corner. Mike Gazzadi and John Parada, and we're with a couple of the student athletes from Freedom High School, Damian Grunigal and Cody Patterson. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, how about that? First, Damian, you're a senior running back, one of the leaders on the team. We talked to your coach. Talk to us about where you feel your team is at this point in the season.
I think we're prepared for what's ahead of us. We've played some pretty hard games. We're ready for what's up next.
You being a running back, you want to feature guys. There's, your quarterback, couple of receivers, couple other guys, but you get the ball a lot. You're prepared for that. You're getting hit a lot. You're playing the other side of the ball. Tell us what it's like to know you're going to be there almost every single play on offense and defense.
I mean, to tell you the truth, I like playing football, so it doesn't really bother me that I'm on the field every play. Actually, I love being on the field every play, so I know what's coming for the week. I prepare myself and I'm ready to do it. Speaking
of preparation, talk about your coaches. Every coach has different styles. Your coach just said he's kind of old school. Tell us about that. I mean, are you guys pretty well, is he strict on the rules and you guys do things the right way? Talk about his style of coaching.
I mean, yeah, he's pretty strict on the rules. Not a lot of messing around to practice. Get in, get out, get what we need to do, get stuff done.
John?
You say you like playing football, you like being on the field every play. If you had the force, if I shot you with truth serum, and offense or defense, which one do you like better?
I'd rather play defense.
Really? How come? I'm curious.
I've always liked defense better. I don't like hitting people, I guess.
Do you?
Yep.
And this is for both of you, can answer this one. You got off to a really good start in conference play last week, 28-0 win over Elwood City. And I know all the games count, including the non-conference games, but obviously you get into conference and there's a little bit more importance attached to each game. How good did it feel to be able to get off to such a good start in the MAC with a, convincing win?
I mean, I think it's what we needed to start our season. It's a good confidence booster for our team. Let's get us ready for following weeks.
Cody, let's ask you. You're a junior, a running back, safety. Talk about your experience, junior. So you still have this year and next year. You've been with the team. You've seen the team grow. Talk about how the program has grown since the time you started as a freshman.
Well, the time I started, I got there. I got to learn a few things from different people. My freshman year and sophomore year. Good leaders on the team, so it hasn't really changed much. But I think we're much more respectable and coming into games more ready.
So let's talk about some of your teammates. We have Damien here. Ty, your quarterback's not here. Tyler Welch, not here. Garrett Turkarski. We have a lot of different guys with some talent on your team. And that's not even to speak of the linemen. You've got some linemen back from last year. So it seems like a pretty good core group of kids.
Yeah.
Talk about your teammates.
Love them all. Our linemen, they've been getting at it, Running backs, like you said, Tyler Welch, really good. Damien, leader on the team. And then us, that's it.
So, what's it like? I asked one of the guys last week. Friday night, you're at home. You guys have a pretty good following, good crowd. In the locker room, you're coming out, and the lights are on, and you come out and you hear the crowd, and you see your students. They have a pretty good student section as well. And what's it like as a player? What's that excitement like? What's that feeling like coming out on the field?
I don't know. It just gets you really pumped up, gets you ready to play. That's all.
John?
Coach Rosa said that you have very good senior leadership, even though, the majority of your players are juniors, sophomores, freshmen. How important is not that you're a young player necessarily now as a junior, but to have those seniors be leaders and kind of show the way for everyone?
Yeah, it's good. If people are out of line, tell them what's up, and then we just teach them, man. We don't yell at them or anything. You tell them what to do, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, talk to us about rivalries. You guys in this section, you play Elwood City, non-section Beaver, you play Riverside, Western Beaver, Neshannock, Mohawk, Beaver Falls. Is there a team that's a rival in this section, Damien?
New Brighton's one of our biggest rivals.
Okay.
Has been for a long time, I guess, as
Okay.
far as I know.
So New Brighton's a big rival. So the end of the year, whether you guys are having a good record or they're not, whatever, it's a rivalry game. That's a team that you guys always want to beat. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir.
Is there anybody else amongst this? I know you guys are bordering Rochester. Even though you guys aren't in the same section, is there any other community that's a rival of yours?
Not really. We don't play Rochester, so I can't really say that's a rival to us. We don't really have many rivals. We just look to beat every team we play because that's what we need to get a win.
Cody, the rest of the kids feel about the same way. New Brighton's a team that you guys, since you guys are so close, that's your biggest rival?
Yeah, I would say, that's probably our biggest rival. No one really else, like you said, but New Brighton has been for years.
So mainly, Cody, your focus, as your coach has said, as Damien has said, is game to game, making the playoffs. Last year, disappointment, you guys didn't make it. It had to hurt a little bit at the end of the year not making the playoffs. What was said at the end of the year and what was said in the offseason to try to get you guys more prepared for this year?
We started early, we just came out. We said we wanted to win. We want to be like last year. We want to make the playoffs, and everyone came up to show, in the off season, lifted, got together, and came out.
Damien, you're kind of a quiet guy. You don't seem to say a lot, which is okay. Are you more of a leader by example, or are you more of a rah-rah guy? Or if you see something wrong, you step in? It seems like you're a leader by example. Am I right?
Yeah, basically. I don't say much. I only say stuff when it needs said.
So that's good. But say 20 of the guys are lifting and you need 25. Or let's say there's 5 or 10 stragglers that are showing up when they want. Do you take it upon yourself to say, hey, look, we're a team. All you guys come out. Do you do that, or you let the chips fall where they may? How do you handle if some of the kids aren't doing what they should be doing?
I think me and all the leaders on the team, we talk to them, ask them why they're not there, try to talk them to coming, talk them into being there, because to be a team, we need everyone to be there.
Cody, you told me you also wrestle and you're in the track and field as well. 3-sport athletes, that's tough. You're basically fall, winter, spring. Have you been doing that for a long time?
Yeah, I've been doing it ever since I've been like 5 years old, all 3 sports.
Now, wrestling is a big thing at Freedom. I know it is. They've had some very good wrestlers over the years. And I know what it takes to be a wrestler. It is unbelievable conditioning. Football obviously helps you out. But how long of a break do you take before you're right into wrestling? There can't be a lot of time.
Not much of a break at all.
Now, how long does it take before you can be competitive in wrestling? Or are you practicing wrestling after you're practicing football?
I mean, yeah, once it starts getting later in the year in football, I mean, as soon as it's over, we're starting to wrestling. So it's literally like no gap in between.
A lot of kids focus on one sport once they get to be 9th, 10th grade. Damien's focused on football. And it used to be back in the day, kids were playing 3 and 4 sports. You're playing 3, and that's unusual nowadays. How many other kids in school are playing 3 or more sports?
I think there's a good bit that at least play like 2 to 3, but I'd say, yeah, a good bit.
How have you ever thought about giving one up at all?
No, not really. I mean, I thought about.
I love it so much.
I mean, yeah, I thought about giving up like track. Like I used to play baseball too, but that's about it.
That's tough to play for.
Yeah.
Damien, if there was another sport you could play that you would want to play, I'm sure you played them when you were a kid.
Yeah.
If there's another sport you could play and be good in, what would it be?
I'd probably go back playing baseball. I played baseball my whole life until I got to high school. And then I stopped playing. I just kind of fell out of it and didn't really want to do it anymore.
Have they ever asked you to come back to the team?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe as a senior you go out for one last hurrah?
We'll see. We'll look into it.
John?
As reading the story in the Beaver County Times, your name being messed up notwithstanding, Bill Allman. But anyway, you said that there were spirited practices last week. Is that carried over this week, or was there any special reason why they were maybe a little more spirited than normal going into the first conference game?
I mean, I think it definitely carried over into this week. We've had some intense practices, which is what you need. You know, like I said, we get in, we get out, we do what we need to get done. High intensity, because that way prepares us for Friday.
Mm-hmm. Guys, I want both of you to answer this. I think pretty much everybody in Beaver County knows a Hall of Famer, Jimbo Covert, came from Freedom, went to Pitt. Everybody saw his Hall of Fame speech. He went up and down Route 65 and named all the places. What's it mean to you guys to have somebody not only go to college and play, but then play in the pros, win a Super Bowl, and be the person he is? I mean, what's it mean to you guys to see someone like him come through your program?
I mean, it basically shows us what we can do, you know. I mean, if we have players like that and we could do the same thing, you can make it to the NFL. It is cool that, you know, he came back. We named the stadium after him.
Right.
Memorial during the game last year. We all got to see that. The team went out and watched his induction into the Hall of Fame, his speech. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was a cool experience.
Cody?
It just goes to show, like, all the hard work you put in, see, like, what you could really do. So keep working at it, and you never know what can happen.
Did you guys get to spend any time with him and talk to him at all?
No, not really.
Not really?
Not really. We didn't really get
He's
that.
talking to the coaches and shaking hands and kissing babies with everybody, with the players, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
See, John, you probably would have talked to him, I would guess. You were probably there.
I wasn't there, actually.
I know Bruce was, and Bob was, 2 of our other
I would have
partners.
liked to have been there, though.
And it
I
was
think
a
it
great
would have been
speech.
cool to see.
So tell us that experience, the Hall of Fame, since we're on that subject. A massive crowd, a lot of people. You got to have a lot of pride when you're there. Hey, I'm from Freedom High School. He's talking about Freedom High School. And you're out in Canton, Ohio, and there's greats all around. You had to feel great.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience. I mean, the whole team went out there. We wore Jimbo Covert shirts with his number on our back, Freedom shirts, you know. So it was a cool experience.
Cody, did you guys run into any ex-NFL players or anybody famous?
We ran into a few, but that's about it.
Who was it?
Peyton Manning, Calvin Johnson.
Peyton Manning, Calvin Johnson. Did you stop and talk to him?
Yeah, one of my buddies got an autographed Peyton Manning.
How about you? Did you talk to them?
I said what happened, shook their hand, but that's about it.
That's cool. Hey, how about you, Damien? You're just shy and living alone?
Well, I actually wasn't there for when they saw Peyton Manning. We actually went into the Hall of Fame that day and like walked around and everything. But at the Hall of Fame induction, whenever they were giving their speeches and everything, Michael Irvin was actually there. So he actually put a video of us on his Instagram story.
That's right. I did see that, John.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, obviously, these guys in the Hall of Fame, most of them are just names. You never saw them play, obviously. They're from yesteryear. But how cool was it to go through the Hall of Fame and just see the history of football and the evolution, how things have changed over the years, and just, just the stories of some of the great players in the history of the game.
I mean, it was cool just to see. I mean, 100 years ago, they wore leather helmets. And football has completely changed over the years. So it was just cool to see how much it's changed and how different it is now.
Did you go into the replay booth under the hood, and they used to have that, the replay, and you could make the call on instant replay, like when the officials go under the hood on the sidelines. But I thought that was the coolest thing the last time I was there. I was most impressed by that than anything.
Guys, before we take a break, you've got some other captains in the room that we just can't get everybody on. You guys want to mention all the other guys that are in the room?
So we got Andrew Henley there. He's a senior. He's a lineman, and he plays defensive line. We have Matt Schulteis. He's also a senior. Plays outside linebacker and tight end. Alex Probst. He's also another senior. He plays center for us. And we have
Nathan Nara.
Nathan Nara. Sorry, my bad.
That's okay.
He's a senior. He plays corner and wide receiver.
Pretty good. Anything else you want to say, young man Cody? Anything else you want to say to the fans coming up for the game? Getting all your fans down to Riverside? Anything you want to say?
I got nothing to say. No.
These guys are not very talkative, but they're leaders on the team. From the Freedom Bulldogs, we want to thank Damian Grunigal, running back and a senior, and Cody Patterson, running back and a safety, a junior. Gentlemen, thank you. Coach's Corner, we're going to take another break, and we'll be back. Me and John will go around the county and preview the upcoming games here on WBVP and WNBA Beaver County Radio.
Scoring big at dinner doesn't necessarily have to mean getting the score run up on your family food budget. Level the playing field by shopping at Beaver Falls Save-A-Lot. There's a reason why they say your dollar goes far at Save-A-Lot. Maybe it's time to switch teams, and while you plan for a big playoff run, head out on a grocery store run. Even when time is running out, being able to park close to the door and find what you need in an instant without wading through a maze of aisles makes Beaver Falls Save-A-Lot the right call.
You can run out and buy a new car if you can find one or afford one. Or you can take good care of the one you have. Take it from Steve at Junction Auto Service. It's all about maintenance. A lot of things have changed in the past few years, but taking care of your car isn't one of them. Now more than ever before, it makes good sense to maintain the vehicle you have. And nobody does it better than Junction Auto. Mention you heard this ad and get 10% off any visit. Visit junctionautoservice.com or stop by their location at 425 Constitution Boulevard, New Brighton.
McGee Heating and Air Conditioning in Aliquippa has been in business for nearly 60 years. Now that's experience you can count on when you call McGee Heating and Air Conditioning at 724-375-7112. They'll answer your call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sue Curlin and her winning team service most brands, and McGee Heating and Air Conditioning is locally owned and operated. As always, they wish their best to our local teams. McGee Heating and Air Conditioning, Main Street, Aliquippa.
Get your furnace tuned up and fall into savings. Just call Keller Heating and Cooling now through the end of November and get $250 off a new system. A new Daikin system features up to a 12-year warranty. Keller Heating and Cooling is locally founded, Beaver County based, and family owned, serving Beaver County and surrounding areas. Keller firmly believes in supporting small businesses which help the community they call home. Whatever your HVAC needs, call Keller Heating and Cooling, 412-628-2207.
Back on Coach's Corner, next to last segment, back with John Rosa, head coach and athletic director of Freedom High School. Switch gears a little bit. We talked about your team, talked about the program. Let's talk about you a little bit. You grew up in Hopewell, played for the infamous Ralph Veits, and You also went to Allegheny College, played football for both. Talk to us about your experience in high school as a high school player.
Well, we didn't have the best team in high school. We were competitive, but we were in a tough conference. We were playing Upper St. Clair and Mount Lebanon and Chartiers Valley and schools like that my senior year. So it was a little bit tough, but I learned a lot from our coaches, Ralph Weitz, Ed Kenitra, Coach Turkovich, who was our defense coordinator. So a lot of good guys. I played for Teddy Pajak, Ronnie Mazaka.
Teddy Pajak, yeah.
So some really good guys that I learned the game from, and it's a game like Damian said. You just love the game, and that's why I wanted to get into coaching when I got out of college, and I was lucky to jump right on at Freedom under Al Guandola, who was a great influence for me, and Mark Lyons. So
you jumped right from Allegheny, 4 years there, jumped into coaching right away. I asked athletes all the time, how'd you feel about the jump from high school to college? They said it's more mental than anything, because you're in college, you got to take classes, you're away from home, but you got your teammates, but the speed of the game goes up too.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Like in high school, I really didn't understand the game the way it's supposed to be from a mental standpoint. We were just dropping back, and it was like throw to whoever's open. Well, that's really tough to do as a high school quarterback. So, I learned a lot in college under some guys like Peter Voss, and who went on to coach in NFL Europe and coached at Notre Dame, and Kenny O'Keefe, who was the offensive coordinator at Iowa. So I learned a lot from those guys as far as the X and O's part of the game, and it's just been something that I've always wanted to do.
I was wondering, you played at Hopewell, and then obviously you became a head coach. How much did Ralph Weitz, who was obviously a great guy and a very good coach, how much of an influence does he have?
He was a great gentleman. He not only wanted to prepare you to be a good athlete and a good football player, but he prepared you to be a good person. He was just a class act, stand-up guy. He was no nonsense. I mean, you say how the game changed. I mean, he would throw somebody off the team in a minute if they talked back. Like, you didn't do that back in the day. But he was a real positive influence on me, is because you respected the man, because he treated everybody fairly, and he was just anything you needed, he'd be there for you.
Yeah. I know Ralph was always one of my favorites when I worked at the Beaver County Times. And he always, anytime I ever interviewed him, John, every single time, always had an old saying. I got an old saying. What was your favorite Ralph Weitz old saying?
He had a lot of one-liners, but usually at every practice when we were screwing up, he'd be telling us, if you guys don't get this right, you're going to be running until the cows come home. We never really knew what that meant, but we're like, it can't be good. So, he was just he was an old school coach, but he was a really good coach and a positive influence. And my sister grew up with his daughter, so we were close with their family for a lot of years. And it's really sad to hear about his passing last year. But he was a great gentleman, and always had a smile on his face and always had a story.
Before we wrap up with you and get to our final segment, let's talk about keys to this week against Riverside.
Well, we got to run the football.
Okay, we know that.
And we got to stop the run.
Pretty simple.
If we can do those two things, we think we're going to have a pretty good chance to be in the football game. We can't give up the big play. Obviously you got to try to win the turnover battle, but we've been pretty fortunate with turnovers. I think we've won the turnover battle every week, but we're still only 2-2. So I don't say that one thing or the other is going to win or lose you the game.
Right.
But
those two things.
Pre-snap penalties, turnovers, and if you can run the football and play good defense,
is there any last question? Is there anything that you feel your team needs to improve for the rest of the season? One thing in the game that, boy, I wish we could do this better.
Well, when I look at where we've struggled, like we've played really well defensively, but we have given up some big plays.
Okay.
And you've got to try to avoid those 1-2 play drives, because those are killers. I mean, your defense is out there for one play and then they score and then your offense has to go back out. So no coach wants to give up the big play. Defensively, you want to play stingy defense. A lot of coaches will spend more time on offense. I can tell you that our coaching staff will tell you, like our offensive coaches, Nick Henderson and my son Zach Rosa, They run the offense, and they're like, it's all defense. And I'm like, that's where we're going to win games. You're going to win games by playing really good, stingy defense, and that's our philosophy. And our defensive guys, Guy Ward, I brought him back. He was with me. He's been a long-time Freedom guy, but he's coached some other places. And Matt Modest, they're doing a great job on the defensive side of the ball. So we all work together as a staff, but you got to play good defense. And Coach Lyons always had this saying, when you go on the road, you got to pack your defense. And that's what we intend to do on Friday night when we go to North Sewickley.
Freedom Bulldogs at Riverside on WBVP, and that will be Friday night. We're going to take another break. We'll be back, me and John. We'll go around the county. Thanks to John Rosa and his team here, the Freedom Bulldogs, here on WBVP and WNBA, the Coach's Corner. We'll be right back.
Did you know Fisher's New Brighton Foodland is as close as a click? That's right. If you're watching or listening to this broadcast online, open up a new window and click GroceryStoreNewBrighton.com and start shopping right now. Fill your grocery order from New Brighton Foodland and follow Beaver County High School football all at the same time. What could be better? Fill your shopping cart up without ever leaving the sidelines. Visit GroceryStoreNewBrighton.com. There's no place like Community College of Beaver County. Confidence happens here. Connection happens here. Opportunity happens here. Your best you happens here. Your future happens here. Home is here. At CCBC, you're right where you need to be to find real learning for real life. And there's still time to join us. Enroll now through October 14th for fall mini-mesters. Same classes, less time. Visit ccbc.edu/fall. You belong here.
Are you in high school and thinking about your future, or know someone who is? Consider Geneva College. Geneva is a Christian college that prepares students for meaningful service and their life's work. Geneva has over 145 majors and programs, 18 varsity sports, 100 study abroad programs, and lots of club activities. And Beaver County scholarships help to make a Geneva education affordable. Learn more by visiting geneva.edu. That's geneva.edu.
No matter what the circumstances, no matter the reason, one of the few things that is left when a loved one passes on are the memories. Staging those memories in an honoring way is one of the reasons so many people have chosen J&J Spratt Funeral Home. A person's legacy depends on a lifetime of accomplishments and then how they are remembered. J&J Spratt Funeral Home has helped start the process of creating positive legacies for over 70 years. Visit jjsprattfh.com. Joseph M. Spratt, Supervisor and Funeral Director. You can run out and buy a new car if you can find one or afford one, or you can take good care of the one you have. Take it from Steve at Junction Auto Service. It's all about maintenance. A lot of things have changed in the past few years, but taking care of your car isn't one of them. Now more than ever before, it makes good sense to maintain the vehicle you have, and nobody does it better than Junction Auto. Mention you heard this ad and get 10% off any visit. Visit junctionautoservice.com or stop by their location at 425 Constitution Boulevard, New Brighton.
I gotta remember to thank Curtis. Back at the Coach's Corner here on WBVP, WNBA, Beaver County Radio. John Parada, Mike Azadian. Last segment. Let's go around Beaver County. A lot of important games. We'll start with the Parkway Conference in 4A. Blackhawk is at Chartiers Valley. Central Valley is at Newcastle. Blackhawks 1-0, Chartiers Valley's 0-1, Central Valley 1-0, Newcastle 0-1, Montour 0-1, and Ambridge 0-1, and the big game, West Allegheny at Aliquippa at Freedom, both 1-0.
That's going to be a really good ball game. Two really good teams. West Allegheny's out of the gates good, and they finally seem to be back to where they were all the years Bobby Palco coached. And that's a huge footsteps to follow in at West Allegheny. And we know how good Aliquippa is. And I think Aliquippa, not only 4-0, everyone concentrates on their offense because they have such an explosive offense. Their defense has held opponents to a combined minus 47 yards in the last 2 games.
Last week against Montour, Montour could not move the ball, and Montour is improved. Yeah. And a lot of people will say, well, wait a minute, you lost Alcoba, but Alcoba's that good. So this is going to be one of those immovable objects versus objects that's moving. West Allegheny scoring all these points. I don't know if I said that right or not.
Yeah.
and Alcoba not allowing points. So that should be an interesting ball game. I think Montour and Ambridge both 0-1. Whoever doesn't win that game might be on the outside, because that's a game that if one of those two teams wants to get that 3rd or 4th spot, because let's be honest, Central Valley, West Allegheny, but it looks like those 3 are at the top of the class and everybody else fighting for 4th. But I think that's a game. Same thing with Blackhawk and Char Valley. If Blackhawk wins, they might have the inside track to that 4th spot.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like you said, barring something really unforeseen, I can't imagine the 3 teams you mentioned won't be in the playoffs. Not that upsets can't happen,
right,
but I really think, like you said, there's the rest of the conference is fighting for one playoff spot. So every game is huge.
Yeah,
for them.
Char Valley, Ambridge, Newcastle, Montour, and Blackhawk, mainly those teams fight for each other. Those are going to be big games toward the end of the season. Let's move to 3A, the West Hills Conference. Hopewell at 0-1 is playing at Seton LaSalle 0-1. And then West Mifflin, their first conference game at Beaver. Beaver's 1-0. Beaver struggled in the beginning of the year against Western Beaver, but since that time they have played better. Beaver looking to improve to 2-0.
And Beaver had high hopes coming into the season, justifiably so. They got a lot of players back from last year. They stubbed their toe opening night against Western Beaver at home, but they've played better, and it's a really good matchup, West Mifflin and Beaver. I think that'll be a very interesting game. And
Hopewell has struggled. They're trying to turn their program around. It's been hard for them. We know what it's been like for Ambridge. Hopewell trying to do the same. They've trying to get off the winless streak and win a game at Seton LaSalle. Let's move to 2A. In the Midwestern Conference, the MAC Conference, Beaver Falls at 1-0, the big game at Neshannock 1-0, both of those 2 teams. This could be for, obviously, the section lead, and if neither team loses another game, the section title. Freedom at 1-0, Riverside at 1-0, another big game. Mohawk 0-1, New Brighton 0-1, and Western Beaver 0-1 at Elwood City 0-1. So you've got the top 4 teams and the bottom 4 teams all playing each other, so there could be some seperation after this week.
Yeah, there really could be, or we could have a 8-team tie for first place, depending on how it all shakes out. But I think that I'm looking forward. I have the Freedom Riverside game on WBVP with Bob Barrickman on Friday night. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Riverside, Fran Ramsden has done a good job there. Has Riverside, they've won their last 2 games. They only lost by a point in their opener. They didn't play a week 0 game. They scrimmaged Rochester instead. We just talked extensively about Freedom, and obviously they have a very competitive team. They're 2-2, and they've played a tough schedule so far. So I think it's, another one, and I know I keep repeating myself here, but it should be a good ball game.
Freedom Riverside is a big game. Obviously, the winner of that's going to have a leg up on the other teams. For New Brighton, Mohawk, Western, and Elwood City, none of them could really afford to lose a game, because those are games you have to win, especially for Western Beaver, because Western came into the year with a chip on their shoulder because a lot of people said, oh, that team's going to finish 7th in the conference. They have some talent, but 0-1 in the section right now, tough loss last week, but they want to prove themselves and they want to get back on the winning. And you're a Western Beaver grad, so you know how important that is for them. They take a lot of pride in that community.
Oh, they certainly do. I was a little surprised Western lost in Neshannock at home, because Western Beaver, in my mind, has a really good home field advantage for no other reason. They're one of the last teams in the WPIL to play their home games on Saturday afternoon, and that throws other teams' routines off. And I think it's a huge home field advantage, and I think if it comes down to the end of the season, they missed the playoffs by a game, or they're fighting for their lives the last night of the season, they're probably going to look back at the Neshannock game and say, ooh, that's one we let get away.
And Neshannock's a good team, too. Let's go to 1A, Big 7. Only one conference game. Shenango at 0-1, at Rochester 1-0. Rochester, everybody knows what a good program they are. They want to get off to a good 2-0 start. Shenango, kind of a team you don't know a whole lot about. Some years a little bit more talented than others, but Rochester can't afford to take them lightly.
Well, I saw Rochester 2 weeks ago when they played New Brighton, and they did a number on New Brighton. They played really well, in both, especially offensively. They really moved the ball quite well, and I think they have a good shot to win that conference. Now, I know New Brighton struggled this year. They're 0-4. They've had, they're a young team that hasn't found its stride yet. But Rochester really impressed me, Mike, the time that I saw them this year.
Let's go to the 1A, the Black Hills Conference. Carleton at 0-1 at Cornell 1-0, and Fort Cherry 1-0 at Our Lady of Sacred Heart 1-0.
I'm looking forward to Fort Cherry Olsh game. I think Olsh is the better team, but
Right.
I think Fort Cherry, they're always scrappy. They're always in it pretty much every year, and I think they'll give Olsh a game. I don't know if they'll beat them, but I don't think Olsh is going to beat them like 50-0 either.
Yeah, Fort Cherry getting better every year. They were a young team last year when I saw them. Carleton's struggling right now. Cornell pretty good as well. So for Cornell and Olsh, that game's coming down the line. I think they both want to stay undefeated. Non-conference, Moon really struggling. The intergalactic game, Moon at Mars. You knew I would say that.
It's the best matchup of the week.
Mars in the universe.
It is.
It
It
is
really,
in the
it truly is.
Moon struggling. Moon, such an epic year last year. They played so well. What did they graduate? 20 seniors.
Yeah.
Pretty much their whole team. So it's a lot of young kids. It's a rebuilding year for them. And Southside Beaver at Quaker Valley. Southside 1-0 in the conference. 4-0 overall is Southside. And I know you don't like Southside. You could admit.
What do you mean I don't like
Come
it?
on, you went to Western Beaver.
I don't
You
like
went to
Southside. Rich
Western Beaver.
Ashcroft, one of my
You went to
favorite.
Western Beaver. You love it.
It wasn't that big of a
I'm just
rivalry.
kidding.
Midland was
kidding.
our rival, and
I'm just
they
kidding.
folded the school because they were scared of Western Beaver.
Oh, I'm just kidding around. So Southside at Quaker Valley. Quakers at 1-2, 1-0 in the conference. Quaker Valley with some young talent. Southside, it should be a test for Quaker Valley, but two decent non-conference games to see where the teams are at.
Well, how about Southside? The team I purportedly hate here is 4-0, and
Fans, he does not.
I don't hate Southside, not at all. I mean, I like people that ride tractors. I shouldn't
my
have said that.
goodness,
But anyway,
that's
no.
bad.
In all seriousness, though, they're really playing well, and they've kind of gone under the radar. Nobody really is talking about them.
Yep.
But they're having a heck of a year.
Well, we're talking about Freedom High School. And we want to thank John Rosa, head coach and athletic director. We want to thank running back and senior Damian Grunigal, his family. We want to thank the young man, running back safety, Cody Patterson, a junior. I want to thank Curtis Walsh, our producer. Thanks to John Parada. Also, thanks to Pizza Joe's in Beaver for their support. And thank you for joining the Coach's Corner on WBVP, WMBA, and Beaver County Radio. Go Bulldogs!